Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today I've got a pretty epic list for you guys. This is a list that is not new by any means to any knife reviewer or any YouTuber that watches knife reviews or knife channels. This is a very popular list, a common list that everyone has kind of given their thoughts and opinions on, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here today. Before I do that, real quick, I wanted to show you guys some merch that I now have officially for sale at my Etsy shop. We have a sticker, and we have a magnet. I will say the stickers are fantastic. They stick great to everything, super strong, super durable. They last a long time. The magnets, you're not going to want to use the magnets to hold up paper or anything on your refrigerator. This is more just a decorative magnet. Sticks fine to a metal surface, but won't do real well if you're trying to hold on your son or daughter's A+ paper they got from school or whatever. So more just decorative, but still a cool little thing to throw in the refrigerator, and a very nice sticker that can go just about anywhere. Making this real quick because we got a long list ahead of us. I will link these in the comment, in the description of this video, to my Etsy shop. Now let's talk about this list, because today we are going over the top 15 best EDC knives of all time over $100. This is going to be a fun one. When you get over $100, you get into that kind of the, it's just an open of anything, any type of knife that you could possibly imagine. Some really good, some really fun stuff. We're going to cover my favorite 15 here today. Again, not the definitive end-all, be-all top 15, but these are my favorite 15. The first 15 that I would recommend to someone that comes up to me and says, "Hey, Wayne, you know what? I'm really loving this whole pocket knife thing. I want to drop a little more money on one. What's a good one over $100? What would you recommend?" Now, the selection for this list was tricky due to such a broad price range. I tried to go with what I thought would be the best true EDC knives. So you're not going to see a lot of super expensive knives. Everyone knows knives can get into easily, $800 plus for what people consider to be an EDC knife. I'm going to knock that down a little. To me, an EDC, you can get an excellent EDC between $100 to $400 easily, and well below $400. But there's going to be a couple on here that they're going to be a little higher in price for valid reasons that I'll touch on when I get here. I did factor in availability with this list. So most of these knives, as a matter of fact, just checking real quick. Yeah, pretty much every one of these knives you're going to be able to get right now somewhere. So that's a good thing. I like to try and keep that in mind sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to come up with real good content because there's some knives that just aren't always in stock, but come back and, they come and go. But all these ones should be available. Even more surprisingly, we're going to cover 10 manufacturers in these top 15, and wait for this, 11 of these 15 knives are made right here in the USA, and I wasn't even trying to do that. You guys know my stance on Chinese production knives. I don't have a huge issue with it. Everyone has their arguments, and I never really get into it because a lot of times people make a good point, and I don't really have a lot to argue with. But me personally, I'm totally open to Chinese production knives. I don't have a problem with them whatsoever. I think they have great quality, but somehow, some way, I still have 11 of these 15 knives being made in the USA. So I thought that would be worth mentioning. I was surprised myself with that. This one also may run a little long because I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in this video and explain a little more in some areas for new viewers who may not just be getting into my channel, but be getting into the knife world in general. I think we forget that sometimes. We all started somewhere, and at one point we all knew nothing about knives and steels and this and that. So I want to make this video a real good informational video for people that are newer into the knife community and that are just now getting into it. So with all that said and all that out of the way, let's go. Let's start off with number 15, that being none other than the Benchmade Griptillian. Oh, you know what, guys? Real quick. I needed to mention this, and I didn't have this on my notes. This is not really the true, these are the top 15. These are my favorite 15, but it was so hard to go 15 to number 1. What I did was I took my favorite 15 and then I took my personal 5 favorites. So my personal 5 favorites, I'm saving those 5 for last. This Benchmade Griptillian, along with the next 9 you will see, these are not in any particular order. These are just 15 great EDC knives, over $100, and I'm saving my 5 favorite for last. So I needed to clarify that. I said number 15, and then I thought to myself, why are you saying that? You're not ranking these. So just the top 15. So here's the first one, the Benchmade Griptillian. These guys range anywhere from $106 to $187, depending on size and materials. There's 2 sizes available. There is a small size and a regular size. I have here the regular size because most people that know me well enough know I prefer a bigger blade, somewhere between 3.25 to 4 inches. Just my personal preference. I like that. I like to roll that way. So what you have here with this knife is excellent ergos. The Griptillian is iconic for its ergos. This is also an older knife. It's been around for a long time. There's been a lot of competition since it came out. But the overall ergos on this guy just hug your hand. They feel great. Little pressure from the clip back there, but other than that, it sits in your hand very, very well. It also comes with the formerly patented Benchmade Axis lock, which is still, in my opinion, one of the best locks in the industry. Now that the patent has run out, there's been other companies to make their own version of the Axis lock, and some of them do just as good, if not maybe a slightly better job than Benchmade. But again, it's the OG, and you know what? You get so used to it. It really is a great mechanism to open and close a knife one-handed and still very strong, making the knife very safe. So that is always great to see that on any knife, especially a Benchmade. You also have multiple blade shapes. This here is kind of just the typical drop point, but you also have I believe a sheep's foot option, and then you also have options for thumb studs or a thumb hole cutout. I really like this. I usually do like the thumb hole cutout, but this one, it feels really good to me. It flips out, the thumb studs placed just right. So I like this one a lot. Another thing that is really great with this knife is it's extremely customizable. It's been around so long. You can customize one of these if you want to spend a little more. If you customize this at the Benchmade shop on Benchmade's website, it's going to be a lot more than $187. Probably somewhere between $200 and $300, but you can pick your steel, you can pick your colors, your materials, your clips, everything. You can totally personalize it, get some laser engraving on the blade. You can make it yours, which is pretty awesome. I think that's a great option to have in any knife. And there's also a lot of aftermarket options from various manufacturers that make anything from scales to pocket clips to all sorts of other stuff. So that's great. And last but not least with this knife, you have an excellent Benchmade lifetime warranty, their sharpening service, anything that could happen to this knife, Benchmade has it covered. And Benchmade is one of those brands that is kind of, it's one of the few brands that people that aren't even necessarily knife people know about. Probably Benchmade and Spyderco, maybe Kershaw too, but it's one of the few names that most people know it, and it's synonymous with a great product overall. Some people knock them for their quality. They have issues. I think all in all, Benchmade's a fantastic company. I don't have as many Benchmades as people might think. I just have a few, but I would recommend the Griptillian all day, large or small, to anyone looking to add a nicer knife to their collection. So there you go. That is the Benchmade Griptillian. And next up, we have one that is, this one is not from the US, but it's not from China. This is the Giant Mouse Acebiblio. And this guy here was manufactured in Italy from Giant Mouse Knives. This is a Jesper Voxnest design, and it is coming in at $175. And it is probably one of the best, I don't think it's my favorite, but it's easily one of the best smaller pocket knives I've ever had. I can't say I absolutely love knives that are under 3 inches, but this one has incredible cutting power. The shape of the blade is kind of like, it is a drop point, definitely, but it almost cuts like a sheep's foot. It has incredible cutting power, has that awesome Vox jimping up there about midway up the blade. It has fantastic micarta scales. It has a nice wire clip, and it just feels really, really good in your hand. Anything from Jesper Voxness is going to have pretty great ergonomics, if you didn't know that already. And it's just a good one. It's just a very, very good one that I think kind of goes unnoticed. This is definitely one of those knives to where if you're not really in the knife world, you probably never heard of this guy. But it is a fantastic piece. It carries well. There's plenty of different ways to deploy the blade. Sometimes it's a little hard to do that middle finger flip, but the index finger flip works just fine, and it flips just great, and it just feels good. It feels good. It carries good. And at $175, I think it's a relatively reasonable price. It's also becoming, I think, more and more popular. You see a lot of renditions of it, or a lot of models of it. Not renditions, what am I thinking? A lot of models, a lot of color options and scale options. I think Giant Mouse found out just how much this knife was liked by the knife community. So there's been a couple collaborations lately of different colors and scale options and whatnot that have become available. I think that's pretty exciting. I think this is a fun knife to keep making in different runs, because again, people are just, it's going to keep making people happy. This is actually the second one I've bought of this, because the first one I actually, not many knives I've done this to, but I carried it so much and used it so hard, I with the time span of 3 years, I wore it out, and I didn't take care of it the way I should have either. I could probably still have it, but I just started to wear out the micarta and just really, really beat on it, and I got a great opportunity to get this knife. It was used, so it was considerably less than the $175 asking price, so I jumped on it because I love it that much. That's the Giant Mouse Acebiblio. And next up, we're going back to Made in the USA, and we're going to Spyderco with a surprising one. People may not be expecting this one, the Spyderco Manix 2. Now, there's going to be another one or two Spydercos on this list, but this one I think is one of the most underrated Spydercos because it has a nice size blade. And the ergos on this, I think, are just as good as any other Spyderco you can get. I love finger choils right under the blade. A lot of Spydercos have that. This isn't the only Spyderco that has the finger choil right by the blade. But I don't know if it's the thickness or just the overall blade shape with the ramp up here along with the choil and then the grips down here. But it just hugs my hand pretty well. This also comes in two sizes. You have an XL with a 3.88-inch blade and a regular size with a 3.37-inch blade. This is the regular size, and that's the one I'm going to focus on here because the 3.88-inch blade is just too big for me in an overall package. It's a little too much for everyday carry, in my opinion. This price ranges from $105 to $210 depending on size and materials. And this is one of the models made in Golden, Colorado at Spyderco's American or USA plant. And it is pretty stinking awesome. Now, as you guys know, the price $105 to $210, that's going to range depending on size and materials, especially being materials. Spyderco is pretty notorious for making sprint runs that some people love and some people hate, that are just kind of crazy, but they're literally, I wouldn't even begin to guess how many options or models of the Spyderco Manix 2 has been produced over time, because you got so many steels, so many colors, it just goes on and on. But another thing that I love about Spydercos in general, and especially this one, is the Spidey hole. The Spidey hole, it varies in sizes depending on knives, and for me, this is a really good size. It fits my thumb perfect. I'd have to compare it to a PM2, but it's pretty close to a PM2, and it's in the perfect spot to where my thumb just flicks it right out. My middle finger flicks it right out. Any way you can deploy this knife, I can do it very, very easily. And that's always a nice thing, because believe it or not, there's sometimes you can put a thumb stud or a cutout somewhere on a blade and it just doesn't work. It's just harder to deploy the blade, and that just sucks. That's always really annoying. So really nice that it has the hole where it does in the size it does. Fits my hand great. And another nice thing about this knife is it pairs perfectly with a Lynch deep carry clip. This is a bronze anodized one, and it has just a little hue of purple that I think goes really well with the blurple scales. So just a fantastic overall piece. And this, obviously, as you guys probably know, has the S110V steel, which is great for edge retention, and I think a really good EDC blade, just not the strongest steel in the world. But with all that being said, the only drawback to this knife that I can't say I love is the ball bearing locking mechanism up here. Works very similar to the axis lock you saw on the Benchmade Griptillian earlier. You just pinch it and the blade closes. This one I've actually broken in pretty well, so where it's not that bad and the blade falls shut really, really easily. Again, makes it very easy and very convenient to open and close one hand, and you also keep your fingers out of the path of the blade so you don't have to worry about getting cut. So, a lot of good things about the Spyderco Manix 2. If you like the blade shape, if you like the little bit of a wider knife, if you have bigger hands, I think you'd really appreciate this knife. And it is one of the best knives coming in the lower $100 range. Excellent, excellent option, the Spyderco Manix 2. On to the next one. We have a little pricier one here. Now, some people may disagree with me, but I don't think many will. This is none other than the Hinderer XM18, and this is where you get into that range of from just someone who likes knives and thinks they're okay to where you're a bit of a knife nut. You're a knife enthusiast. You are a knife guy or gal, because this guy comes in starting at $425. Obviously, I have added a micarta scale here, which was another $100, I think, $90, $100 just for the micarta scale. So you have a pretty expensive package here, but you also have something that is made from a rather iconic name in the knife industry, being Rick Hinderer, and you have incredible American-made, American-sourced quality, USA M390 steel. You have the tri-way pivot system, which allows you to use bearings, washers, or Teflon washers in the knife. Personally, I think that's a little overrated. Teflon washers, I don't know why anyone would ever want to use those. They hated them from the get-go, and I think that's why he did that, to switch to the regular washers, metal washers, as well as bearings. These are on bearings. This knife here is on bearings, and I don't know why you would have it on anything else unless you really do truly use it for hard work. Then you may want the washers. But there are a lot of people that EDC Hinderers. They're not cheap, they are expensive, but I know a handful of guys that do and use the heck out of them. So don't tell yourself that this is just pocket jewelry. For some guys it is. For me, I use this on light EDC occasions. I'm not gonna go do anything that is going to potentially damage this knife, because I paid too much for it. It was definitely one of my grail knives, because I don't ever plan on spending that much money on knives on a regular basis. But I gotta say, I really do love it. It feels fantastic in the hand. I like the thickness and beef behind it. I love this is a DLT exclusive, which is the Fullard spear point, I believe. The Fullard spear is what they call it. But it just feels fantastic in hand. And I will say, it might sound crazy to some people, but this does feel like a $425 knife. It feels like it, and that is really nice to say, because when you spend that much money on a knife, it is nice to have that feeling of satisfaction when you get it. This is also another very, very, very customizable knife. You can customize anything from all the hardware you see to the different colors of frame locks to the pocket clips to obviously the scales to everything. Different colors. You can go crazy. You can spend a lot of money on a Hinderer if you want to. I personally absolutely love this setup right here. I don't think I would change anything on this. I kind of like simplicity more times than not, and that does not go any different than this for this Hinderer here. The one thing I will say about Hinderer that I don't love is I had a bad experience with their customer service in regards to this knife. If it wasn't for DLT Trading being awesome and looking out for me and taking care of my issue, it probably would have never been fixed. I don't want to go into depth because I've already done it before in other episodes, but they don't have the best customer service, but they do still make amazing knives. And again, after I had that experience, I was kind of thinking about selling this, but I really do enjoy it too much to sell it. So I don't know what that says about me and my strong morals of when I get upset at someone, but I just can't get rid of this. I like it too much. So despite the less than perfect customer service from Hinderer, I plan on keeping this in my collection probably forever. Probably be something I pass on to one of my kids or something like that, because it's just a great knife, and it will last a lifetime. The Hinderer XM18. Now we're going to go from a real Hinderer to a Hinderer, but from another company. And that is the ZT0562CF. So for you guys that aren't familiar, ZT is Kershaw's premium line. They make not necessarily Kershaw designs, but they're owned by Kershaw. This was designed by Rick Hinderer, the knife that you just saw. And it is basically his design in a still expensive format, because this knife comes in at $260, but again, probably about $200 less than a Hinderer XM18 after taxes. And this is all made in the USA as well, at ZT or Kershaw's manufacturing plant. And it's not quite as good. This is what I'll say, because it's so hard to explain it. The quality, in my opinion, is just as good as a Hinderer, but, this is a huge but, the feel is completely different. This does not feel like a Hinderer whatsoever. It feels like a nice premium knife with super buttery smooth action, with just nice acoustics, excellent ergonomics, hugs your hand like a glove. And it's just a beautiful blade shape, very slicey grind. This is obviously the slicer grind from Hinderer. And ZT did just an absolutely amazing job of taking a Hinderer design, putting just a little touch of ZT on it, and, in my opinion, perfecting it. I think this is one of probably my second favorite, maybe third favorite ZT of all time. You're going to see my favorite later in this video. But the 0562 is just one that really can't be ignored. It's one of the most loved ZT designs ever, and I think that's pretty clear to anyone that knows this knife and the knife community well enough. An excellent deep carry clip, and just overall very, very attractive package. That is, you can't go wrong with it. There's a lot of knives you can spend $260 on, but this is absolutely, without a doubt, one of the best in my opinion. And again, this is available all over the place. You could almost call it their flagship model, but a very popular one, the ZT0562. Now, another one that is a very popular one that I think a lot of people know and love very well, that is the Benchmade Bugout. No surprise here. It probably, after all this time now, when it first came out, you obviously couldn't say it, but I think it's pretty safe to say now that this is the most popular Benchmade design ever. Tell me what you guys think in the comments, but it's hard to go wrong with the Benchmade Bugout. You have two sizes. You have the regular 3.24 inch size that you see right here. That is kind of the original model. It's been around for a decent little amount of time now. And you have the newly released, I don't have one with me, but the mini size that comes in 2.87 inches. I think the mini is kind of dumb. Unless you live in a state where you can't carry over a 3-inch blade, going from 3.24 inches to 2.87 inches to me is kind of pointless. But again, that legality factor kicks in, and it doesn't make it pointless, not if you live in a state like that. But I don't. I live in Michigan, so I don't have to worry about that, luckily. So I have the regular 3.24 inch version that I absolutely love. I wasn't sure about a Bugout. It didn't really flip my switch at first, but The more I heard about it, then I got one in hand, and I thought, okay, this does. It's simple, but it is great. It's Benchmade doing something really good. And again, you got the access lock, so it works really well. I need to oil this guy up. I've carried this one around a lot. I think there's probably a lot of gunk in there that takes away a little bit of that smoothness that you usually see from an access lock. But overall, you just have a fantastic blade shape, very simple drop point blade. One thing I did do to upgrade this knife that I really don't like on the base model is the Grivery scales it comes with. I think that material sucks. I don't necessarily think it would break. I've heard of it breaking, but it's never broke on me. But I don't like that feeling of flimsiness because you can pinch the scales together. Really don't like that. So I got a pair of brass scales from Flytanium, and I absolutely love this setup here. Brass and copper I kind of like in general. Sometimes it can make a knife too heavy, but the nice thing about the Bugout is it's not a big knife to begin with. So you definitely add some weight with the brass scales, but it's not too much weight. It doesn't bother me one bit carrying it. I love the flat black everywhere. It matches the clip. It's fantastic. And I kind of wanted to get the copper scales, but I got the brass to match the thumb stud on this Bugout. So really, really love this setup. I think it is worth upgrading the scales if you get one to sturdier scales. And again, you can go Flytanium. You can get all sorts of aftermarket scales now that are also in G10, which is a stronger material, but not quite as expensive as brass or copper. But no, overall, just a fantastic knife. Oh, and I should say too, if you want a nice Bugout with decent scales that you don't have to change them out on, that just come stock, the CF Elite version of the Benchmade Bugout is a pretty good option too. It's all blacked out, and it says in the description, Benchmade Bugout CF Elite. So the scales have some carbon fiber reinforced handles. Not pure carbon fiber, but there's carbon fiber in it that makes it stronger. So it does make a difference. Worth checking into if you really, really like the Bugout but don't want to have to mess with the scale swap. So that's the Benchmade Bugout, a pretty iconic design from Benchmade, and I think it's one that everyone would agree should be on this list of top 15 best EDCs of all time. And next up, we're going back to the Spyderco range, where we have the Spyderco Spydiechef. Now, there's a few reasons why this knife has to be on this list, in my opinion. We're going to get to those, but overall, it's just an excellent EDC option. This guy, though, was made in Taichung, Taiwan, at their Taichung plant. But as anyone knows, that does not mean anything in regards to lesser quality. Their Taichung plant produces absolutely phenomenal quality, and you really just... I've never had a bad knife from their Taichung plant. I've had a handful that have come and gone over the years. Never had a bad experience. This guy here is coming in at $234.50. Now that's getting up there, but you also have some very, very positives on the side of this knife that you don't have with any knife that you've seen yet on this list. That being is it's almost rust proof. For all intensive EDC purposes, it's not going to rust on you. This has LC200N steel. It's a nitrogen-based steel developed by NASA. Developed by freaking NASA. Obviously not for this knife, but Spyderco had a good idea one day and said, hey, we're going to make this knife with it. And it was a fantastic idea because LC200N is basically, when it comes to corrosion resistance, it's a 9.5 out of 10. Odds are this blade's not rusting on you. I don't know how you could make it rust. Maybe you could if you tried hard enough. But if you just carry it like a regular pocket knife, you don't ever have to worry about it rusting. You just don't. On top of that, it's got a titanium frame lock, and basically the rest of it is just rust proofed. I mean, titanium doesn't rust either, so you don't have to worry about this knife corroding or getting any type of rust on it. And that can be a big thing if you live in the Midwest like I do. Those humid Midwest summers can they can take a toll on blade steels if you aren't carrying the right kind and if you're not maintaining it. But also what is just really unique and what I really enjoy about the Spydiechef more than anything is, there's a lot of pocket knives out there, but there's not many that are designed with kitchen use being the primary purpose of the knife. Because as you see here, this sheep's footy blade, call it a sheep's foot blade, I'm going to call it a sheep's foot blade, but it works great for chopping because when you hold this in hand, it positions your knuckles below the blade. So as you chop, it keeps your hands out of the way. And the LC200N steel, obviously, great for use in the kitchen. You can cut acidic things. You can cut anything with moisture in it and not have to worry about it rusting the blade. Also holds a very nice edge. And the overall design is just very unique and I think very attractive. There's really not... I would like to see a over travel stop here on the frame lock. It would be nice to see an over travel stop, as well as a lock bar insert. But at the same time, it's not really the end of the world. I was late to the party on this knife. I've known plenty of other people that have bought it and never had any issues of that sort, so I'm not anticipating any. I don't think I will have any, and I just really, really like this knife. It's one of my go-tos in the summer on those really humid, nasty days. You'll see the other one here later in the video, but it is pretty easy to whip out. I kind of looked like a little goofball there during the middle of this video trying to deploy the blade because I don't have a lot of room under the camera, but the action is pretty good on it. It's not drop shutty. It's a little bit of a different action than other knives, but it feels really good in hand. It carries very well in your pocket, being very slim, and like I said before, it's virtually rust-proof. So that is the Spyderco Spydiechef, and absolutely worth taking a look for a regular EDC option. And next up, we got a fun one. This one is not illegal in a lot of states, but it's legal in this state, and that is the Microtech Ultratech, and it's just good. It's just so good. Microtech, in my opinion, first off, so the Ultratech comes in, it starts at $280, and it can really range. Anyone that knows Microtech well enough knows that it's kind of depending on the flavor of. This is actually the Bounty Hunter edition. I'm a Star Wars fan. I think the Bounty Hunter is just badass, and they came out with this, and I had to get one. This guy comes in at $315. So really, $315 compared to the base price of $280, you don't really spend a lot more. The problem is finding them. This is a very hard one to find, as well as a lot of other favorable colors and blade shapes and blade designs. It goes on and on and on. Microtechs aren't necessarily hard to find, but the certain color variant and flavor of design that you're looking for could be hard to find, depending on which one it is. But Microtech in general is just, to me, it's tied with Protech for the most American proud company out there. They're based in the USA. Every single thing they put this knife together with is sourced and made in the USA, which is a great thing. They have a service personnel program where they support LEOs, armed forces, and first responders through discounts on their products, which is always awesome. You can go on their website to get more information about that. But the Ultratech is the gold standard for OTFs, and an OTF is out the front. So the blade is flying out of the front of the knife here with the action you have on the switch here. You just pull it back to close the blade, and you push it up to deploy it. Very nice and smooth. I've broken this one in very well, as I've carried this one a lot. Really, really just, I love the overall designs and attitude you get with Microtech. They're just really good to sticking true to their brand and what they want to bring to the table. And the action is just fantastically addictive. It's fidgety, it's crisp, it sounds cool, and it feels, there's not many things that you can flip on and out in and out like this that I don't know why you can just sit there and just fidget with it regardless, nonstop. It's just a fun knife, but more than anything too, it's also a very durable knife. It's a knife that is made to use. If you go on YouTube and search Microtech torture test, they beat the hell out of their knives. Not just the Ultratech, other knives too. They literally take them out in the woods, brand new ones, and just beat on them, set them on fire, use them to baton through trees, and use them as nails. They absolutely put them to the test, and they hold up. So you're getting a lot of quality, and you're also getting an excellent lifetime warranty that Microtech is very good with. They honor it till the last day of the knife, which is going to be forever. I mean, for the most part, if the spring goes out, they replace it. There's very few things the warranty doesn't cover. And they're pretty good on timely returns of those warranties too, from what I've heard. I have a couple Microtechs, and I've never had to send one in. So goes to say for their brand there. They make super quality products with just a nice flair. Now, these knives are not illegal in all states, or not legal in all states. They are illegal in some states, so you want to check your local knife laws before you go buying one of these, because you could technically, of course, buy one offline and have it shipped to you, and then you just have to carry around the house or take the risk of carrying it out in public and getting a fine or getting it confiscated, or all sorts of other bad things that can come with breaking the law. That's why you just don't do that. But this is the Microtech Ultratech, and it is easily one of my favorite EDCs of all time. Next up, we have another USA-made guy coming at you, and that is the Protech Malibu. Now, I'm sure most of you know this, Protech is known for making automatics, out-the-side automatics primarily. But recently, they jumped into this little endeavor of making button locks. They made one it was a collaboration with Mastrop that I didn't get in on. I didn't purchase one. It was called the Mordax. And it looked really sweet. I wasn't doing my channel, obviously, at the time, and I didn't quite have the funds, and I just didn't get around to trying one out. But then they came out with this Malibu just last year, and I thought, okay, now I got to see what this is about. And again, this is an example of Microtech just being one of the best at what they do, and something new at that, taking a button lock, something that you don't see a lot of button locks yet in the knife world. I think that's going to change in 2021, but as of right now, there's very few, and this is easily, by far, bar none, the best. The action is fantastic. The ergos are great. It drops shut super easily. The button lock is so fun to play with and fidget with. But more than anything, it's also extremely high quality materials from blade to handle. This is CPM 20CV, which I'm sure everyone knows is very comparable to M390, which is going to boast great corrosion resistance, great edge retention, and great strength and hardness of the metal. So it's just the steel. So it's just a fantastic overall package. And the ergos on this knife, they really are just good. I have enough knives to where I usually carry a different one every day. I guess, I have this list to recommend best EDC knives, which is everyday carry, and I really don't have one knife that I carry every day. I just carry a knife every day. And every time I put this in my pocket, I forget how well the ergos are, how great they are, and how fun it is to fidget with this knife, and how unique of a feel this is on deployment. Because if you've had a flipper, I'm sure if anyone's had a knife, it's a very good chance it's been a flipper. It just doesn't feel like that. It has such a unique feel on the deployment of this blade, and it just closes like a guillotine. Luckily, your finger's never in the way because it's a button lock, but it's just, the construction and overall execution of this knife is fantastic. And on top of all that, Protech is another, like I said, they're tied with Microtech for one of the most just proud American companies making knives. They're a very generous company. They do a lot of work with U.S. veteran programs. Majority of their components are manufactured in-house. They start with bars and millets of aluminum, titanium, etc., and mill them all down to scales, to clips, to screws, to all types of different buttons, to different components that go into the knife. It's very impressive how they run their business, how they handle their business, and how they give back to the community and certain programs that they deem is worth getting their support. So just a great company overall, making super high quality products. That is Protech. This is the Protech Malibu, and it is an absolutely fantastic EDC option. And next up, got another USA-made one coming at you, and that is none other than, I'm sure everyone was probably waiting for this one, the TRM Atom. TRM stands for Three Rivers Manufacturing. They are based in Massachusetts, and these guys start out at $189, and it can go up depending on the scale materials you use. As most people know, TRMs have a very, very easy method of scale swapping, to where you just take off this screw and that screw, take it off, put the new one on. This came with some carbon fiber scales, and I can't remember what this stuff is called. I think it's G-Carta. Pretty sure it's G-Carta. Kind of like a sandstone finish, which I'm not sure. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I do like it more than the carbon fiber, though, so I've kept it on the knife. But this is just TRM. They're definitely the smallest company on this list, I think. Like I said before, based in Three Rivers, Massachusetts, hence the name Three Rivers Manufacturing. Their popularity has soared over the last year and a half. And for very good reasons. Again, you have all American sourced products, made in-house, just very nice. I don't know if you can call them a mom and pop shop now. I think you still can. I think they take pride in that. So that's always pretty awesome to hear. But overall, this is just a very simple but very, very attractive design from blade to handle. It has very good, smooth action. This is a liner lock. And even as a liner lock, it closes really well, and just slim. Of all the knives on this list, there's, in my opinion, maybe one, and I'll mention it when I get to it, that carries better or as good as this knife. It has a very thin blade stock. It has a very thin handle profile overall, and it just carries in your pocket. It disappears in the pocket, I think is the best way to say it. It truly does disappear in the pocket. And this is also the sliciest knife on the list I have here. We have a blade stock coming in at 0.09 inches and an edge coming in at 18 thousandths. And that could vary. My calipers, who knows how good they are. I've heard readings of a little less than that on other models, but 18 thousandths is, combined with that slim stock, makes for a pretty epic slicer and an excellent EDC option, especially if you need more slicing tasks from just like opening packages and letters. If you're not really working the blade super hard, this would be an absolutely fantastic option for you. And again, there's nothing you can really knock it on. Price is on point, design's on point. Your money's going to good people. That shouldn't always be the ultimate deciding factor, but it sure as hell feels nice when you know it is. And you can't go wrong with it. The hardest thing about this knife is sometimes getting them. Sometimes, they're, like I said, they're a mom and pop shop. They make them in smaller batches, so you got to get on their website. The website is definitely the best way to acquire one of these knives, and they release their runs. They give everyone heads up of when they're going to be available. Also, follow them on Facebook. That's another great way to stay in the loop. Is the Three Rivers Manufacturing TRM fan club, I think is what it's called, on Facebook. So this is the TRM Atom. Easily, again, very, very deserving to be on this list. Fantastic slicey, everyday option. And that is the 10. That is 10 of the 15. And now we're venturing in to my personal top 5 favorites. And again, these are in no order either, because some of these I've had a lot longer than others. So let's just get right into it, and let's get to one that I think everyone's still waiting for, and that's the Spyderco PM2. There are other Spydercos that I could put on this list. There's another one that I would really like to put on this list, but the price of it is just so stupid, I'm not even going to mention it. So in place of that, I have a Spyderco Paramilitary 2, which I really like just as much. I really do. I've grown to love the PM2. It's an iconic blade. Like I said before, it is made in the USA at the Golden, Colorado plant. And this guy starts at $154.70, and it ranges. Again, this is a knife. It's kind of you can make it whatever you want it. And there are so many different types of materials and blade steels you can buy it in when they're available. It can go anywhere from $154.70 up to 200 and some. depending on what's being used to make it. But it's just a knife that has absolutely excellent ergonomics. It's a super slicey blade that is a very, very versatile blade. You have a really nice tip that you can do a lot of good work with, that is just an excellent full flat grind. There's really, I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a situation where a Paramilitary 2 wouldn't be an excellent knife to have in your pocket, and I can't think of one. I really can't think of one as far as just an EDC use. It can pretty much do it all, in my opinion. Has a very unique design. Some people don't like it that much. And to be honest, I was one of those people a few years ago. I just didn't know about it. And so I finally just said, you know what? Screw it. I think I'm going to just buy one and check it out. And if I don't like it, I'll try selling it. And since I bought that one, I've actually had three total. I've sold the other two. This is the only PM2 I have in this blade shape. As everyone knows, I also have the Tonto PM2 that I have out on loan to a friend right now. But again, you just can't go wrong with a Paramilitary 2. It feels good in most hands. It's extremely good quality build. You get the Spyderco warranty, which is a pretty good warranty. It's not as good as Microtech or Benchmade, but it's decent. It's just good. If you're part of the knife community, there's not many people you will know that haven't owned or handled a Paramilitary 2. You have the compression lock, which is also worth highlighting because I haven't highlighted that on any other knives because this is the first Spyderco to have it. The other two is a frame lock and the ball bearing lock, but this compression lock here makes for a very fidgety knife. You can, flick it out like that. A little hard to do under the camera, but you can always Spidey flick it with, again, a very nice size thumb hole and an excellent position. You can always thumb flick it out. You can do pretty much however you want. Nice slow roll. But again, just excellent in hand. Another knife that pairs extremely well with a Lynch Northwest deep carry pocket clip. Again, another material completely made in the USA, coming out of the Pacific Northwest. And Spyderco's just they go with Lynch clips, kind of like chocolate and peanut butter. Just an excellent pairing. And you can also get a bunch of aftermarket scales for this knife. The PM2 is probably the most customizable knife in all of pocket knives, in my opinion. I'm trying. Maybe the Hinderer could give it a run, but you're also going to be spending a lot more. So if price is a factor, the PM2, that's the knife you want to go with. I got these carbon fiber scales from Sharp Dress Knives. They're another American company based in California. Really nice guy that does excellent CNC work on all types of exotic materials, from fat carbon to lightning strike carbon fiber to micarta to, I think, everything but steels. He doesn't do titanium, but any type of micarta or carbon fiber, he's all over. He has absolutely excellent scales with great quality. That's Sharp Dress Knives. I'm also going to throw a link to Sharp Dress Knives in this video because they really do need to be checked out by people. If you really want to customize your knife and put a good touch on it, go check out Sharp Dress Knives and see what models he has available. But again, the PM2, it's just an iconic knife. You cannot go wrong with it. I absolutely love it. That is why it is in my top 5 favorites. Let's get on to the next one. This one's coming out of China. And this one, if you watch my channel regularly, this isn't going to surprise you. There's 2 things that you guys need to know about me. One, I prefer my blades to be between 3.25 and 4 inches. And additionally, I love a front flipper. And that's what you have here in the Kizer Genie. This is a knife that absolutely came out of left field for me. I was not expecting to even buy one, and I did just because I thought I'd review it, and I ended up loving it. I love the reverse Tonto blade shape. I love the carbon fiber scales. The only thing that I didn't love right out of the box was this pocket clip that I thought was just a little odd looking, different looking, but I'm to the point to where I like the rest of the knife so much, I just don't have a real problem with it. It feels great in hand, super smooth action, very fidgety. You can middle finger flick it, you can index finger flick it, you can do all sorts of things, but again, this knife is made to be a front flipper. It has excellent jimping up there on that front flipper, and it just bites your thumb, comes right out, almost kind of pops out like a magic trick. It is just an excellent knife. Super, super light for as big of a knife as it is. And it's just good. It's good. It has good materials. This has S35 VN steel, which everyone knows is just good to go steel. You can't go wrong with it. You really can't go wrong with it. And I just dig this design. I think this knife is still very underrated. There's not enough people that give this knife the credit it deserves. And I think part of it is because Kizer makes so many models, you kind of get lost in a sea of not bad. They're all good knives. I've never had an issue with a Kizer knife, but my only knock on Kizer is they just make so many. I mean, half of them don't really, attract me. But now, ever since I started reviewing knives, I really got back into the Kizer world and tried to get a little deeper, because there's a lot of models and designs that people really do like and like to see reviewed that I would never personally think of picking up. So Kizer's been a real experience for me over the last year, the last 6 months I started this channel, and this has definitely been the biggest surprise for me. One that'll probably never leave my collection, just because, one, at $158, it's rather affordable for everything you're getting. And it comes with everything. It comes with a great design, phenomenal action, great ergos, nice and light. You just really can't go wrong. If you don't have an issue with Chinese-made knives, this is a knife you have to check out, in my opinion. It's fantastic. I'd highly recommend this model with the carbon fiber scales. They have another option in titanium, which I'm sure is great, but this carbon fiber scale, it gives it a very, very light feel in hand, and it just, to me, makes it the complete package. That's the Kizer Genie coming in at $158. We got 3 more. And let's go with this one, the Quiet Carry Waypoint. Back when I was talking about the TRM Atom, and I said there's only one other knife that carries in the pocket as well as the TRM Atom, well, this is it. This is it, and I don't know if I would say this probably does carry a little better than the Atom, only because it's just a little smaller overall in size and width and length. That's really the only reason, though. If this... And there's nothing to really knock on it. There's no faults it has, in my opinion. One thing that does stand out and kind of scream at people that it may turn some people off from buying it is the price. That price is $295, and this is a Chinese-made knife, but it's a USA-based company. So, again, it's, and there's a lot of companies that are like that, guys. It's hard to manufacture in the U.S. unless you're a bigger company or you really know what you're doing. Unless you own a CNC shop or you're a massive company, it's really hard to manufacture something like a pocket knife in high enough quantities to make sustainable income off of. TRM is constantly getting better and better at it, but there's a lot of companies like Quiet Carry who come up with great designs. They outsource the work to China, and they have the knives shipped in, and they sell them. And personally, I don't have a big issue with that. Everyone has their own way to survive and get their designs out there or spread the name of their brand, and this is how Quiet Carry does it. And I have no issue with it, and for a lot of reasons. First of all, you have a very, very solid overall construction. You have marine-grade titanium scales. Everything on this knife is completely rust-proof. Everything, from the pocket clip to the screws to the LC200N liner lock. Yeah, that steel that Spyderco was using to make the blade of the Spydiechef. Quiet Carry is using this as the liner lock for this knife, which is pretty awesome. And then when you get up to the steel, you have Vanex steel, which is extremely, extremely rare to see on a pocket knife in general. It's virtually rust-proof. I've seen videos of people trying to rust this thing and they can't do it. That's incredible. And from the kind of like, again, this is such a new steel, you kind of have to just wait to hear what people in the community say about it and the testing that comes back. But the edge retention is through the roof. The strength of the steel is very, very strong enough, especially for a pocket knife. But more than anything, it's just an excellent overall package to, again, fight corrosion and last a lifetime. which is, you know, when you're spending $295 on a knife, that's what you want. It also has a very, very slim design overall, going back to how well it carries, but also how it feels in hand. It has a nice little choil area up there where it just sits in your hand perfectly with very nice jimping, and there's no hot spot from the pocket clip. Just a very good grip in hand. And the only thing that is better than the ergos and overall design is the action, because this blade flies out and it's on washers. It is not on bearings, and this kind of action on washers is pretty much unheard of. Just absolutely fantastic. You do have to close it with your finger because it's not drop or shake shutty. You can, I guess, yeah, you can probably shake it shut, but yeah, again, it's one of those things where it's not the end of the world on a knife like this. It just kind of has that smooth close that, you know, for some reason you're just kind of okay closing it with your fingers, I guess, because the action coming out is so darn good. Has a very nice slicey blade with a very nice hollow grind, which you don't see all the time. Flat grinds are definitely the most popular grind on pocket knives nowadays, for mainly because it's cheaper to do. It's not as time consuming, so less time, less money. But the hollow grind does add a nice little slicey touch to it. Takes away a little bit of strength on the blade. A flat grind also gives a stronger blade, but the hollow grind makes for a slightly slicier blade. So overall, you have complete corrosion resistance, excellent ergonomics, excellent carry. There's really nothing to knock on this knife. If you can swallow the $295 price tag, this is a knife I would highly recommend checking out. I've probably carried this knife more than any of the other knives on this list, mainly for the corrosion resistance, because it just really works out well for me in the summer. I'm an active guy. I like to backpack and I hike whenever I'm traveling, so I sweat a lot. It's just a great knife to have in the pocket because you don't have to worry about it. That's the Quiet Carry Waypoint. And we are down to the last two on this list of top 15 best EDC knives ever, and we're going back to Microtech for my favorite Microtech. That's the Microtech SOCOM Elite. And if I had to pick one knife to carry around with me for the rest of my life, considering, you know, it had to last and it had to handle everything thrown at it, whether it be just a walk to the gas station or end of the world apocalypse, it'd probably be the SOCOM Elite, because you have a super strong frame chassis that the blade is sitting on, as well as a very beefy, thick blade stock that comes down to a pretty hair-popping edge. Not the thinnest edge in the world, but it's a very good working blade. It is definitely made to beat on another knife featured in Microtech's torture abuse series. YouTube Microtech torture test SOCOM Elite, it'll pull it up, and just watch what these guys do to this knife. I mean, they break the tip off it, for God's sake. They beat the absolute hell out of it, and at the end of the day, still cuts just fine, has some nicks and scratches on it, and you can tell it's beat up, but it really takes a beating, and it comes back for more. It's just amazing. Super smooth. Makes an awesome sound on deployment too. Kind of a more of a hollow thwack. Very nice. Surprisingly great ergos. When you look at this knife, ergos weren't the first thing that popped out of my mind, thinking, oh wow, I bet that feels really good in hand. But you know what? Having that pocket clip up there at the top, which I think most people don't like 99% of the time, but on this knife, it's just kind of okay because of how well it feels. Zero hot spot, nice slim point down here with a glass breaker. Never had to use this glass breaker, but I really want to use it just because I think it'd be fun. So maybe we'll have to just go find some glass somewhere to use that on. I don't know. I've never used a glass breaker. There's a lot of knives that have them, and I always thought, man, that'd be fun to actually use that glass breaker sometime. But no, more than anything, it's just, again, it has the Microtech touch. It has the incredible quality, excellent blade steel of being CTS 204P, which is an American-made steel that is similar to M390, which is going to give you the great edge retention, the super tough steel, and the excellent corrosion resistance. And this knife, I don't think I mentioned the price yet. The SOCOM Elite starts out at $290, and now this is another one too. You can find SOCOM Elites probably at just about every retailer, but to find the right one, I think this is probably the most popular version, just the plain Jane, all black with a, this is a, I believe this is the Apocalyptic or stone wash. This is the stone wash finish. This is not the Apocalyptic, just the stone wash, but a nice plain edge. And like I said before, very sharp edge coming down to a nice strong tip. Again, this knife is just made to work and beat on, and you get that and a little bit more with the SOCOM Elite. It's why I love it, and it's probably my favorite Microtech of all time, and that says a lot going up against the Ultratech. I'm still not sure about that statement, though. I got to think about that a little longer, but this is easily one of my top 5 favorite EDCs of all time, the Microtech SOCOM Elite. Now, let's get to the last one. Remember when I said you guys were going to see my favorite ZT of all time? Well, here it is. And some of you probably already know this because I have featured it on some other videos. But this is the ZT0640. This is a collaboration with Ernest Emerson of Emerson Knives. Again, ZT is made in the USA, and with a price tag of $248. This one I have a little more into because I've customized this one. Like I said, it's one of my all-time favorite knives, so I liked it. I like to make things my own. I like to put my own personal touch on things. And this might be my favorite design ever. I love the way this knife looks. It's a very elegant blade shape, perfect for EDC use, with an excellent blade to handle ratio, and the lines that just start from the bottom of the knife up to the tip, it just complements each other. It flows together very, very well, and there's just really nothing I would change on this knife. Not even the thumb disc, and I used to hate that thumb disc. It was the only thing that kept me from buying this knife for a long time. But once you get used to it, it's not that bad at all. It's actually really easy once you get used to it. Just extremely pleasing aesthetics overall. Excellent action for washers. The blade falls shut. And like I said, once you figure out that thumb disc, it works just fine. You can really dig your thumb down there and flick it out very easily. You just have to do it the right way. Again, I probably say this too much, but it's always harder to deploy a pocket knife blade on camera because I'm trying not to hit my tripod or hit the camera and do all this stuff. But very, very fun, pleasant action. Very reliable knife that is just built extremely well. And again, I think this is perfected with the touches I put to it. I took off the carbon fiber scales, and I put some micarta scales from, again, Sharp Dress Knives, another great American company. Guy spitting out the scales all on his own out in California. These are fantastic quality. I love the patinaed look on the micarta, the uneven grain, and just the oils from my hand that have soaked into the bottom, and just a nice uneven rugged finish. And then I also put a Northwest clip, Lynch Northwest deep carry pocket clip on it, which makes this knife go all the way down in the pocket, carries extremely well. And again, this knife to me, for some reason, I've said it before, it screams adventure, and I love that. Adventure and travel is a big part of my life, and this knife is just, to me, it kind of defines it. And I still don't know why. It's the knife that comes to mind. If I was to go on the adventure of a lifetime, I'm taking this knife with me. I'd like to take with me more places, but then I always worry about losing luggage, and God, it would be a nightmare. But this is probably my favorite EDC knife of all time. That is the ZT0640. So with that being said, guys and gals, what did I leave out? Because that was only 15 knives, and I can already hear people saying, why isn't this one on it? Why isn't that one on it? Let me know what knife would you add to this list, either that you have or you want, but you know it's deserving. Let me know. I look forward to hearing that. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. This was a fun one to make. It took a while because I put a lot of thought into this one. And it shows in the time there. We're looking at an hour and 3 minutes, probably gonna be over an hour and 4 minutes when I totally sign off. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. I have a lot more very fun lists coming your way within the next couple weeks. I know you'll enjoy them. I hope you enjoy this one, and until the next one, I'm out.